The term CAP is an abbreviation for a corrective action plan. The CAP is a guide for implementing and tracking the corrective actions that are determined necessary or required as a result of the investigation and review of a reportable incident. Although a CAP can be created for any incident that occurs involving a client at a New York State licensed or operated facility, CAPs are required for all allegations of abuse and neglect that are substantiated by the Provider's Incident Review Committee, or all allegations of abuse and neglect containing any offense substantiated. These substantiations will be documented in the Justice Center determination letter that is sent to the provider by the New York State Justice Center to the Executive Director or designee. In addition to this training video, there are 2 job aids available at the NYMERS website Learning Center that outline the steps for processing a corrective action plan. The link for these documents is shown below. For additional assistance, you can call CAP support at 518-474-3619. One of the job aids contains a diagram of the steps necessary for processing the CAP. The other job aid provides the same information in a step action table. There are 7 steps to processing a corrective action plan. 5 of them are performed by the provider, and 2 of them are performed by central office. In addition, the job aid contains definitions for the levels of status of a corrective action plan. This video training will demonstrate how to enter your corrective action plan into NYMERS for the central office staff to review, request revisions where needed, and approve. So let's go to NYMERS now and see how a corrective action plan is processed. Incidents that require a corrective action plan can be found by clicking on the Incident Management menu and selecting the CAP Search option. This will display the CAP Search screen. If you have many incidents displayed, you can use the Search, Sort, and Filter fields to select the correct report. But for our demo, we only have 5 incidents in the grid. Notice that the screen displays the Justice Center case number, the Justice Center incident number, the NYMERS incident number, as well as the incident date, the CAP status, the CAP implementation date when available, and an indication as to whether or not there is any offense substantiated, as well as an indication as to whether a determination letter has been received, and of course the client involved. To select the incident for which you want to initiate a corrective action plan, simply click on the line item. This will take you directly to the incident report. Notice that the incident report now has a progress bar to indicate the status of the incident. From here, we click on the Investigation and Corrective Action Plan tab. Within the Investigation and Corrective Action Plan tab are 2 sub-tabs: the Investigation Findings and Incident Review Committee tab and the Corrective Action Plan tab. You can initiate a corrective action plan prior to completing the investigation and the IRC review, but you cannot submit the CAP until both have been completed. For this demonstration, the investigation and the IRC are complete, so we'll click on the Close Investigation and Confirm IRC tab and continue to the Corrective Action Plan tab page. This is the page that we use for submitting the corrective action plan for approval, as well as for uploading the supportive documentation for each corrective action within the plan. This page has been modified to meet the requirements set forth in the NYCRR Part 524 regulations. And here is where you enter your corrective action plan for central office staff to review, request revisions where needed, and to approve. At the top of the screen is an Add button for entering the CAP manager's contact information. There's also a CAP status indicator and a field for entering the implementation date. The CAP manager is responsible for the entire implementation of the corrective action plan and will be the primary contact for all questions and revision requests from both OMH and the Justice Center staff. To enter the CAP manager, click on the Add button. Then enter their name, address, and phone number and indicate whether the phone number is the work phone, the home phone, or a cell phone. Now select the issues of concern that are relevant to your incident and to the corrective actions required. You may select as many items as apply. If the allegation has a substantiated Category 3 or Category 4 offense, you must select the Category 3-4 box. Currently, Central Office staff will be entering the information from the determination letter into the section designated for the determination letter. Therefore, it is grayed out on your screen, and you cannot make a selection in that space. When the information has been entered by Central Office, the CAP due date will automatically populate. The JC determination letter should always be reviewed by the CAP manager and any staff member entering corrective actions. Now we come to the corrective actions grid. This is where you'll enter each of the corrective actions that are part of the plan. To do this, click on the Add Corrective Action button, and the corrective action entry window will display. You should select corrective actions that correspond to the findings of the investigation, your IRC review outcomes, and any selections that you have made under the Issues of Concern tab above. In this example, we have chosen Employee Counseling as our corrective action. Now we enter our corrective action description. We then indicate the status of the implementation. The implementation date, and the person responsible. If you do not enter the name of a person responsible for the corrective action, the system will default to the CAP manager, who is ultimately responsible for the implementation of the entire plan. Then you enter the measure of effectiveness. This is a statement of how effective the action was in addressing the issue. The measure of effectiveness should provide evidence that the action is appropriate and meets the standard of care and will mitigate future risk of this event occurring again. Then you click on the Add Corrective Action button, and the corrective action displays on the grid. If you have documentation to support your corrective action, you can attach that documentation now by clicking on the Attach Files button. Before attaching files, you must first save the incident. Once you've saved the incident, the NYMERS Attachment Control window appears in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. If you click on the Browse button, you can view folders on your hard drive or on a shared drive or a thumb drive. You locate the supportive documents and click on the Open button. Once you verify that the document is correct, click on the Upload button, and the file will be uploaded and will appear under its respective corrective action. If you'd like to remove the file, you can click on the Remove button, Or if you want to re-edit your corrective action, you can click on the Edit button. To attach another file, you would click again on the Attach Files button. Now we're going to close the NYMERS attachment control window and add another corrective action. We'll click on the Add Corrective Action button and add our second corrective action. Based on the findings of the investigation, staff education and training have also been deemed an appropriate corrective action. Once again, we'll enter the corrective action description. And then we'll select the implementation status, the implementation date, the person responsible, and make a note of the measure of effectiveness. Now we'll add the second corrective action. And attach a supportive document. Once again, we'll browse for our document, locate it, open it, and upload. It's important to note that all corrective actions must be fully implemented in order for the CAPS to be approved. Below the CAP grid, you'll see a note field for sending messages to OMH, and above that field, another larger field where the notes from OMH will appear if there are revisions required. This allows you to communicate directly with the OMH CAP review team with any of your questions or concerns. If you have no questions for the OMH CAP review team at this time, you can proceed with your submission. To submit a corrective action plan, you would click on the Submit CAP button. A window appears asking if you're ready to confirm your CAP submission for review. We'll click Yes, and a dialog box appears indicating that the CAP has been successfully submitted and it will be reviewed once the JC determination letter detail has been uploaded to the incident. It also states that no further action is required at this time. You can click on OK and go to the CAPS search screen and you'll see that your corrective action plan now has a CAP status of pending JC determination. Once it has been reviewed, you will be notified in this queue that your CAP plan has either been accepted or requires further revision. You can then go back to your corrective action plan and look at the corrective actions to see which selections have been approved or what actions require revisions, and also to see if there are any notes from central office in the note box. This process will continue until all of the corrective actions in your plan are approved. After the corrective action plan is approved by central office, it's the responsibility of the provider to ensure that all of the corrective actions that are listed in the plan are implemented. The provider then records the final implementation date, and the provider closes the incident in NYMERS. When the incident is closed, the CAP status will be marked Implemented. If you have any additional questions about creating and submitting your corrective action plan, call the Office of Mental Health CAPS Support Group at 518-474-3619. Thank you.